listening to Academy FM's Ghost Stories in the week before Christmas, written and performed by Malcolm Richmond.
This story was told to me as a boy by my uncle Finley Matheson. When I was a kid, I would often go and stay with relatives up in Scotland during the summer holidays. Finley was my Aunt Betty's second husband. He'd run away to sea as a boy, and he'd married Betty late in life after he'd retired. If you want to imagine Finley, he was about 5 feet tall, he had a little goatee beard, and he always wore a reefer jacket and a sailor's cap. He even walked with a rolling gait like he'd just got off a ship. He always had these amazing stories about his time at sea, and he told them properly. He wouldn't say, "We sailed out of Singapore on New Year's Eve." He would say, "Aye, the year had changed, but my luck hadn't. I shipped out on the biggest rust bucket in the South China Sea, held together with rust and prayers, and crewed by the biggest bunch of rogues and cutthroats this side of Davy Jones' locker. I slept in my hammock with one eye open, I can tell you." And he was covered in tattoos that he used as props for these stories. As a teenage boy, I was completely captivated by these stories. I couldn't wait till I could grow up and run away to sea and tackle icebergs as big as skyscrapers and sharks as long as tennis courts. One summer evening, my female relatives, my grandmother, Aunt Betty, my two cousins, were going out to bingo, and Uncle Finley and I were staying in. My cousin Rosalind says to Alison, "Lend me a £5 for the entrance money and I'll pay you back out of our winnings." Alison just laughed and lent her the money. Once the door shut, Finley turned to me and said, "That reminds me of something that happened when I was at sea." And he rolled up his sleeve, and on his arms were the words, "Never a lender or a borrower be." I thought to myself, Scotsman. But no, it wasn't tight-fistedness that sent Finley Matheson running up the dock road in Liverpool to the first tattooist he could find to have that motto inscribed as a permanent reminder. No, it was a much darker story. It was a winter of 36, or it might have been 37, and Finley shipped out of Southampton on a freighter called the Morning Star. They docked in Barcelona. Now, this wasn't the Barcelona of today, the stag and hen party capital of Europe. This was a city in a country torn by civil war. One of Finley's shipmates asked him to lend him a few pesetas for their time on shore leave, and he offered a smart, brand new camera as collateral. Now, Finley has no need for a camera, but it's worth much more than the guy wants to borrow, so he figures he can't lose. So Finley lends him some money, and they enjoy a few days of shore leave in Barcelona. When they've loaded their cargo, and it's time to weigh anchor, this guy is nowhere to be seen. Now, someone jumping ship wasn't that uncommon in the Merchant Navy, and Finley wasn't worried. He had this camera that was worth far more than he lent the man, so his quid's in. Now, for younger listeners, I'd better explain. This camera had what was known as a film in it, which meant that Finley could take photos until he ran out of exposures. So they continue on their voyage. In those days, the life of a merchant seaman was a dangerous one, but even by the standards of the time, the SS Morning Star was a bad luck ship. They encountered a storm just outside Barcelona, and a steward was washed clean overboard. In the same storm, the cargo shifted and the bosun was crushed between two containers. Later on, 2 stokers were killed in a nasty accident in the boiler room. By the time the Morning Star reached Amsterdam, Finley had long since used up the remaining film, and he had no real use for a camera, so he moved the film, hocked in a backstreet pawnbroker's, and he spent the money while he was on shore leave, sampling the cultural delights of Amsterdam. Eventually, the ship docked at its final destination, Liverpool, and Finley was paid off for the whole voyage. So now he had plenty of money, so he dropped the film off at a branch of Boots on Dock Road. Well, a couple of days later, he popped into the pharmacy to collect his developed prints. And he looked through them, he checked again, and he double-checked. Now, sure enough, in amongst the pictures of icebergs and other ships were a photo of the steward, one of the bosun, and one of the 2 stokers all smiling at the camera. Now, we don't know where that camera came from. The man who gave it to Finley disappeared into the Spanish Civil War. We don't know what became of it. It was last seen in a backstreet pawnbroker's in Amsterdam. But one thing we know for sure, every human being Finley photographed with that camera was dead before he finished the film. So if anyone ever asks to borrow money and offers a piece of cutting-edge technology as collateral, remember the words Finley Matheson had tattooed on his arm, "And never a lender or a borrower be."
You've just been listening to an Academy FM Ghost Story, written and performed by Malcolm Richmond. Listen out for more creepy tales as we head towards Christmas.